What is something that everyone needs to know about driving before getting a license? Write in the comments what you think about it. What more do you need? Enjoy the show. Story 1. Before you get your license, remember that defensive driving is key. Always keep an eye out for what other drivers are doing. Staying chill and focused can seriously save your butt. I've dodged a few accidents by just staying alert. Get good at parallel parking too. It's a pain at first, but you'll get it with practice. Know some basic car stuff like checking your tire pressure and oil. It's a game changer. And seriously, never hit the road without a good GPS or map app. It's saved me on so many trips. Story 2. Your life is worth more than someone else's poor choices. If someone is speeding, driving erratically, passing illegally, etc., give them space and back off. It is not your job to brake check, speed control them, or cause an argument. They will make a mistake at some point in their lives that will cost them. Don't be that mistake. And don't pass trucks on a downhill. They carry a lot of weight. Story 3. Passing lane is for actively passing the car in front of you and then returning to your lane. Inattentive drivers in the passing lane, combined with the fact that everyone everywhere, even you, follows too closely, is extremely disruptive to the flow of traffic. Traffic jams wouldn't exist if everyone actually left enough room to coast at 20 miles per hour instead of accelerating to 40 miles per hour and hitting the brakes 30 feet behind the car in front of you. People will accelerate toward brake lights, and it's infuriating. Use your brakes as little as possible on the highway and coast to slow down instead. This takes marginally more attention and focus. Story 4. Take a defensive driving class. It will get you an insurance discount. But obviously it also reduces your risk of being maimed or killed in a collision. When on the road, being predictable is far more important than being polite. In practice, it usually means things like not giving up your right-of-way to another driver with a wave of a hand. The safety systems are not excuses to ignore common-sense driving skills. Example, all-wheel drive and anti-lock brakes do not mean you can drive at your usual speeds in a gray, sleet-filled November rain. Airbags do not mean you can skip wearing the seatbelt. Incidentally, the lap belt goes over your hip bones, not your stomach. Turn signals can lie. Tires can't. If someone is indicating a turn but going straight presents a possible hazard, watch the tires. If they're going to actually turn, you will see the wheels pivot. If you live in a region that sees snow or extended periods at or below freezing, invest in a set of winter tires and cheap steel rims. Proper winter tires can dramatically improve your stopping distance and ability to engage in evasive maneuvers over all seasons. Having them always mounted on winter rims will save you money over having them mounted and dismounted from your factory wheels every season change. Story 5. If someone cuts you off, tried to do something that they're not supposed to, whatever the case might be, just let them. Don't speed up to close the distance. Don't try to block them from doing whatever it is they're trying to do. None of that. Someone's trying to merge lanes out of order? Let them. Someone barely stops for the stop sign and it was your turn to go? Let them. Someone very clearly wants to speed but is stuck behind you for whatever reason. Just do what you gotta do to give them the space to go into the next lane and pass you. None of it is worth getting into it some dumbass who might kill you for honking after they almost caused a 20-car pileup. Just let these people do what they want and get away from you ASAP. Story 6. When approaching an intersection with vehicles waiting to go and you don't have a stop sign, you should be looking at the front tires instead of the drivers. The tires are the first indication that the driver is going to pull out in front of you. Your eyes should be scanning side to side looking for whatever might jump out in front of you. Animals, cyclists, people, whatever, may just go right in front of you at any time. There's no sense in being in a hurry. For the most part, speeding won't save you any meaningful time. If you're trying to get to work 1 minute faster, you're already late. Slow down. Do not tailgate. Story 7. I drive in NYC. Believe that every other driver on the road is a complete idiot and may do something unexpected. Not saying you should be living in fear behind the wheel, but be cautious and be aware of front, rear, left, and right. The more road experience you get, the more enhanced your judgment gets if you pay attention. There is no first-place trophy for arriving at the stoplight/stop sign/home first. That phone call or text can wait. Please detach from your cell when driving. I think that's one, if not the one, biggest obstacle to overcome. I see people always glancing down. It only takes a fraction of a second for something bad to happen while traveling down the road in a 2-ton vehicle. Bonus points for pickup trucks and EVs. And please, please, please don't get behind the wheel after some drinking. It's the one time your mind can actually fuck you over. You're not okay to drive. Trust me. Godspeed and drive safe. Story 8. In general, you shouldn't plan to steer while braking at 100%. Technologies like ABS will help you do this better. But if you need to slam on the brakes, try to find a safe way to do it in the longest straight line possible. Concepts like trail braking, where you brake to shift the weight of the car into the front of the car to maximize cornering grip, are for intentional higher speed cornering and should not be considered by novices when doing emergency braking, where the goal is to dramatically slow or, hopefully, stop the vehicle. Your brakes are always most effective in a straight line, and learning to identify a path and execute straight-line braking at a moment's notice will make you a safer driver overall. If you live somewhere cold, this is a good and rather fun scenario to practice at slow speed in an empty, large, icy parking lot, along with learning about ABS and its role in stopping, and TCS and its role in delivering power to the road by managing wheel spin. Knowing the sounds and sensations of these systems is best learned before you need to actively put them to use. Story 9. 3 things. Stop at lights or behind other stopped vehicles with this pattern. 2. Not with this pattern, because something is more likely to fail. Driver attention, ice, car mechanically, with no reaction time left. You're stopping and sitting waiting for the same light to change anyway. Easier on the car so it will last longer too. Same way with vehicle space on the freeway, riding the grill nearly on the bumper of the next car, or proper reaction time space. Ride a bike on the road to understand how to drive a car on the road with people riding bikes. Drive a farm tractor. People seem to think it's somehow okay to pass a tractor while going uphill on double yellow lines, with no ability to see what's cresting on the hill or around blind bends in the road. The farmer doesn't like being on the road any more than those drivers, and doesn't want to be in the middle of your crash with oncoming traffic. Bonus item. An old 1970s commercial used to show how a motorcycle hid behind a pencil the same way they hide behind utility poles when you are looking to turn out onto a road they are on. Story 10. Just because you see someone's turn signal on doesn't mean they are using it. Example. I pulled up to a stop sign at a T intersection. Cross traffic does not stop here. I saw a semi-truck coming with his turn signal on. I assumed he was turning, and in order for him to make his turn, I had to move, because it was a tight turn, no shoulder. Well, I pulled out in front of him and had to gun it to avoid being ran over because he had no intention of turning. Point of this comment is patience is important when it comes to driving. Story 11. Wet leaves can be as slippery as ice. If your wheel goes off the side of the road, don't jerk the wheel back the other way to correct it. Gradually easy back onto the road. You could slingshot yourself into oncoming traffic. Be prepared to hit an animal. Do not swerve to avoid them. It could kill you and other drivers. Take reasonable steps, but do not cause an accident. Don't jam on the brakes if you have a tire blowout. You could end up rolling your car. Just take your foot off the gas and continue to steer. Do not rely on the intelligence and reliability of other drivers. Rely on your eyes and your senses. Story 12. Driving in an area you don't live in can be very different than you'd expect. For example, if you have never driven in a big city before and are only used to rural areas, you're going to have a bad time in a city. Just dealing with the significant increase in the number of drivers makes it way harder. The same thing can be said doing long drives if you've never done a long drive before. Check your blind spots even when there's no one in your mirrors. I cannot tell you how many people have sped up and camped out in my blind spot because they saw that I used my blinker to merge. Lots of people aren't going to be polite or nice. Drunk drivers can happen anywhere and at any time. While it may be more likely to encounter a drunk driver on the weekend or during a holiday, anyone can have a drink whenever and get in a car. Story 13. Be as predictable as you can, use your signals, and if you have a problem, shoulder checking, get one of those little add-on mirrors to your side mirrors to help. If you can't shoulder check at all, get off the road. Distance is important and needs to be understood in varying weather conditions. Get decent tires. Never ever let the driver behind you dictate your speed, as long as you are going the posted limited and driving accordingly. If people are driving like assholes, don't match them. Your best bet is to get as far away as possible from them being erratic. Never ever step out of your car unless ordered to by authority. Don't engage in road rage. You never know who has a shotgun in their trunk just waiting for an excuse. Story 14. Don't be polite, be predictable. At a four-way stop and it's your turn, fucking go. Don't wave the other guy through. Signal before you turn. Mirror, signal, mirror, maneuver. In that order. If everyone else is doing 5 over, match them. Ain't no cop going to single you out for going with the flow of traffic. The left lane, or right in those backwards places that drive on the wrong side, is for passing. It's not for setting your cruise control to the speed limit and camping. Brake and accelerator pedals aren't an on-off switch. You don't have to floor them every time. Learn to check your fluids, change batteries and bulbs and wipers and other things, if possible. Some modern cars are bullshit, that you may have to do in a parking lot. Wear your fucking seatbelt. I don't care if your roommate's cousin's uncle's best friend would have survived if he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Odds are you'll be better off wearing it than if you aren't. Don't treat donuts and space savers like regular tires. They are not safe to drive over 50 miles per hour. Don't text and drive. Story 15. The right-of-way is not transferable. If you have it, you are required to take it. Trying to give it away confuses everyone and causes accidents. Left turns are not made diagonally. If you cross a yellow line anywhere, you are fucking up, and you are going to kill someone. Pull out into the intersection far enough to where you can make a sharp left turn into the lane you want to be in, entering it between the lines. Story 16. The streets, roads, and highways are public. Do not treat them as extensions of your personal space. You are not owed the right of way. You are expected to know when you should yield the right of way to others. If you are not actively passing someone else, drive in the right lane. If someone abruptly cuts in front of you, most likely it is not meant to be a personal insult, so don't treat it like one. The parking space in front of your house is not your personal parking space, unless that is an element of your lease or HOA agreements. Story 17. Don't be polite. Be predictable. On the road, it's crucial to follow the rules and signals rather than trying to be overly courteous. For example, if you have the right of way, take it instead of waving others through. This helps other drivers anticipate your actions, reducing confusion and the likelihood of accidents. Predictability ensures smoother traffic flow and enhances overall safety for everyone. Story 18. You will think you're a good driver. You will think you won't make major mistakes. And then, one day, you'll go to change lanes, or you'll cut a turn tight, and you'll have a near-death experience, and hopefully that's all. At some point while driving, you are almost guaranteed to have a near-death experience that is semi-narrowly avoided, or alternatively, you may narrowly avoid killing someone else. Story 19. I am teaching my son to drive now before he takes his road test, and he needs to learn to drive defensively. I teach him to signal, stop at stop signs, etc., but also to anticipate that others will not. We live in Massachusetts, and this is a very realistic expectation. Also, to learn that just because an impatient driver behind you is honking does not mean that you should go through the yellow-red light. I also still remember my HS driver's ed teacher who taught us you need to maintain a car-length distance between you and the car ahead of you for each 10 miles per hour of speed. So 50 miles per hour means you should be at least 5 lengths back, and perhaps double if it's wet. And be aware that most accidents occur in parking lots. Low-level accidents but can still be deadly and expensive. Story 20. It is a privilege, not a right, to drive on public roads. Your signature on that driver license is a contract with the state, etc. That issued it to you. By signing it, you agree to give it to a cop when he tells you to. It is not your property, but the state's. It is not covered by the Fourth Amendment because it is not yours. So show the pig your license, you fucking child. Operating a motor vehicle is an enormous responsibility. If you do not take that seriously, then A, you're a piece of shit, and B, you're part of the 99%. You are not a good driver just because you don't have any tickets. The vast majority of violations of traffic code are never caught. If you're only a shitty driver when the cops aren't watching, but the cops are almost never watching, then you're a shitty driver. The rules aren't just about you. Maybe you have great driving skills and a high-performing vehicle, but if everyone around you is Susie soccer mom in an Escalade with cell in one hand and latte in the other, and running late for Aiden's karate lesson, then you're still a danger to everyone around you when you make the road your personal racetrack. If you want to race, there's a safe place to do it legally. Ask Google. Leave your 320 feet at a time horse shit there. Pedestrians always have right of way because they don't have bumpers or airbags or seatbelts or crumple zones. If you're sleepy on a road trip, then pull the fuck over and take a nap. Best place is off the shoulder on a highway, freeway, on-ramp. Traffic's moving slow and usually more alert. Story 21. You may be right, but that doesn't stop other drivers from hitting you or driving badly, and it's expensive and shitty to deal with insurance and worse. The joke is, they put "he had the right of way" on his tombstone. Always carry an updated version of your insurance slip. I got my new copy mailed to me on the 10th of June. My old on expired on the 15th, and I worked that day 4 p.m. until 12 a.m. I got pulled over at 12:10 a.m. on the 16th because my lights weren't on. Stupid mistake, I knocked my switch with my knee, and he gave me a $110 ticket for my insurance being expired and a warning for the lights. I've been driving 23 years. I've been pulled over 5 times and never ticketed except that time because I wasn't drunk and I had a clean record. I was pulled over for way worse things before, where I honestly have no idea why I was let off, and I get a fucking ticket for that. My early resolution court date is in November. I was told they'll probably dismiss it. I hope so. Stupid mistake, my dad, R.I.P., always old me to put my new slip in the car or this would happen, and it did, so I'm spreading the word. Also, it is a Zoom meeting and I am not logging in using my Reddit username. If you're wondering why, look it up without "it's not." Because that was a beautiful Zoom court moment for Buttfucker 3000 and Judge Middleton. Story 22. Don't slam on your brakes unless necessary. My brother thinks he's a great driver, as all boys who drive fast do, but I always tell him he's not, because while I don't mind fast drivers, he doesn't drive smoothly, and my parents agree. He slams on the brakes at every red light or car braking in front of us, so I hate driving with him, and he just had to spend $500 repairing his brakes after 2 years. Brand new car. His reasoning is, what if they speed up or the light turns green, so he doesn't even attempt to slow down in advance? Bizarre, especially because he is a super smart kid. Story 23. Your safe following distance will absolutely be seen by some other drivers as the perfect place to cut in between you and the car you are following. So you need to be ready for it when it happens. You can buy yourself a little bit of extra reaction time by increasing that distance. Where I live, it's a 2-second space. So there's still time for you to react to the dumbass who cuts you off. Edit. Forgot some stuff. Set your phone aside and pretend it doesn't exist. Don't even look down at it while you're driving. If someone gives you grief for it, tell them safety trumps everything else when you're responsible for controlling several tons of metal. If you get rattled by something, it's safer to pull over until your body and mind calm down than it is to try and continue while you're still shaky. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it, be sure to write comments and share your stories.